So in today's session, we will discuss about all the basics of HDFS. HDFS stands for Hadoop Distributed File System. So under Hadoop Distributed File System, we should have some prerequisites, that is basic understanding of what file system means and practical working knowledge of Unix file system basics, because HDFS is used with the Hadoop file system. It provides framework for Hadoop. So we must know that Hadoop is based on Linux and Unix. So we should have prerequisite, that is we should have some little bit knowledge of Unix file system also. So agenda of this session is under this we will be discussing architecture of HDFS. How does HDFS store the files internally? Failure handling and recovery mechanism, rack awareness, role of name node and secondary name node. Now, the most important thing, that is when we should use HDFS and when not to use HDFS. So starting with the basic understanding of this, imagine you have a 1 gigabyte file, that is 1 GB file, downloaded from any website. It may be 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabyte movie file, or it may be anything in your standalone system, that is your Windows system maybe. If you actually want to save that file in your hard drive, that file will be saved as a single file in either of the C, D, E, F drive, whatever drive names you have given. But in Hadoop, it's different. Hadoop has different type of file system, that is distributed file system for Hadoop. Now assume that you have a 200 MB file. Let's forget the content in the file. We are not considering what is the content in the file. It may be audio, video, or anything. We are just considering that this is we are dealing with the file that is of 200 MB of size. Excuse me. It may be numbers, text, or anything. Now, since Hadoop file system is actually distributed file system, which is going to break the file in multiple nodes in the cluster. So in the last session, we discussed about a Hadoop cluster. Hadoop cluster is nothing, it's simply group of machines. Group of machines which may consist of server master nodes, and master nodes are name nodes, job tracker, and secondary name node. And then under the Hadoop cluster, we have some data nodes that are working as slave nodes. So that is about Hadoop cluster. So Hadoop cluster is nothing than simply a collection of different systems, and all those systems may come from different hardware vendors. So now we are considering under distributed file system, we have multiple nodes within the cluster, and 200 MB file is not going to store as it is. It means we will not store the file 200 MB in a single run. In this case, that is in Hadoop, there is something known as input file. So we have a input file which is configured by the system administrator. Then we consider default split size. So the default split size in case of Hadoop is 64 MB, and the administrator can split by multiples of 64 MB. It means the default split size is 64 MB, and now we are considering that we have to store a file that is whose size is 200 MB, which may be a text file, and then we need to split the files onto different name nodes by the multiple of 64 MB because the split size factor is 64 MB. So we consider if we are having multiple data nodes, then each and every data node will be storing a file of maximum size 64 MB. That will be the default split size. And its global file system throughout the cluster we have considered. So in our example, we have 200 MB of text file and we are having different nodes. Now, suppose in this case we are splitting it, then we consider this 200 MB file is needed to be stored as 4 nodes. Node 1 will store file block that is 64 MB, node 2 64 MB, node 3 also consists of 64 MB, and the node 4 will consist of the remaining megabytes of the file, that is 8 megabytes were left over. So those 8 megabytes will be stored in node 4. So we have separated our file in different nodes in this case. Now in this diagram, there is one client machine. So we are having one client machine and one name node. And then we have 12 data nodes in this case. We have considered for simplicity and or you can say for naming convention, we have used them DN1, DN2 and so on up to DN12. Each data node has its own hard drive. Now see, each data node is having its own hard drive to store the block of the file. Now the data file is going to be stored in these nodes. Breaking up of the original file into multiple blocks happens in client machine, but not in the name node. So the subletion of the file is done at the client machine level. The decision of which block resides on which data is not taken randomly. There is an algorithm running behind that assigns the block to specific given data nodes. So name node is going to remember where the block resides. All such details are kept inside name nodes, which maintains a table. And that table is basically, the table is known as FS image or file system image. So FS image actually stands, full form is file system image. This is just like a book index. Like we are using a book index, we can refer to any of the data that is present in different file, different pages. So here we have a Hadoop cluster. So this is how the servers are going to be arranged in production environment. So these diagrams were basically about the implementation part. Here we are having 4 nodes which are consisting of data, and these 4 nodes by client machine are separated to different data nodes. So like node 2 is stored at DN10, that is data node 10. Node 1 stored at data node 7. Node 3 at data node 2. And node 4 at data node 5. So in this case, we are having Hadoop cluster that is deployed in a production environment. So this diagram basically represents how the servers are going to be arranged in production cluster. There are 4 rectangular boxes known as racks. Each rack has a switch. So these are the switches. So in this case, here this we are having a switch. So this is the switch in this case. So this is one switch. This is again switch. This one is also switch. This one is also switch. So each and every racks, we are having 4 racks, has its own switch. And here we have routers. This one and this one. These are our routers. So there are basically 4 rectangular boxes. These 4 rectangular boxes known as racks. Each rack has a switch. These 4 switches, 4 racks of 4 switches that are used to connect multiple devices. Then we have data nodes, and these are basically our data nodes. So these are our data nodes. These are data nodes within the particular. These are also data nodes. So these are basically known as data nodes. So here we say we have data nodes which are interconnected to a switch. All these data nodes are connected to this switch. At top outside these positions, we have routers. Each rack has a server. So in this case, this is the server, that is name node. So each rack has a server. These 3 racks have servers, and these servers are name node, secondary name node, and job tracker. We basically need 3 masters. So these are the 3 masters: name node, secondary node, and job tracker. And the remaining nodes are work as data nodes, that will work as slaves. So all the name nodes can't be kept in the same row, same rack. Remember, we can't keep name node, secondary node, and job tracker into a single rack. These have to be stored in different racks. So we say all the name nodes can't be kept in same rack, because if failure occurs in the rack having name nodes, then the whole service will go down. To avoid this downtime, we have different racks in different servers. For best practice, no rack should have more than 25 data nodes as per rack. So here we say what industries do. Industries has set a standard that none of the racks should have more than 25 data nodes. So this is the basic overlying cluster deployment in production environment, in which we have multiple racks, and those racks will store different data nodes. They will keep data nodes. Those will be having servers. So we basically need 3 servers: name node, secondary name node, and job tracker. They are kept in different racks, and 4th rack is not having any server because it is not needed. And the communication between the various nodes is done with the help of switches. And at the top we have routers. These routers provide communication among different racks. Now suppose rack 1 want to communicate with rack 2, then it has to communicate through the routers. Any of the rack, if want to communicate with another rack, then it has to communicate with the help of routers only. So this is the overlying structure for clusters. Now the main point, that is distributed environment with the help of Hadoop provides the facility that we should get free from all type of failures So we have to handle the failures. Now let's have a look how the failure is being handled in distributed data nodes or distributed environment. So HDFS basically divides the task among different nodes. So in the previous slide we considered we are having a file of 200 MB, and we will be considering a file that is of a larger size. Let us say it's a big data file and its size is in petabytes. And if we are handling petabytes of files, then we should take care of the thing that we can't tolerate any type of failure in any of the node. So now suppose that data node 10 fails. So I have highlighted the data node 10 with red color, because now we are assuming that data node 10 has failed. Then the content at data node 10 will be lost. Now consider this is a big data file which consists of petabytes of data. To avoid problem of losing data, we must replicate the data at multiple data nodes. Data replication factor should be at least 3. So if in future anyone asks you the question, but is the default replication factor in Hadoop, then we say the default replication factor is 3. It is the default replication factor, but we can change this to 2 or we can change this to 4 also. But remember, we are talking about big data files that are in petabytes in size or hexabytes in size or zettabytes in size. So they are very large. So we should be careful that the replication factor is 4, 5, 6 or whatever. But by default, the replication factor by Hadoop system is 3. So whenever you replicate any of the data file, it is copied at 3 different distributed nodes. Now, if we are working on a single system, like for training purpose, like we discussed in the previous session, now remember these data nodes are nothing else. They are simply Java files or Java processes, jar files. But if we are working in the industrial environment, that is production environment, then these distributed nodes, that is data nodes, are the data nodes or the machines that are separate individual machines that are connected with the help of switches in different racks, and further those racks are connected with all other racks with the help of routers. So let us move towards the failure handling. Now suppose we have a file of 1 petabyte. Then the saddest part is if we replicate it 3 times, then the memory consumption will be 3 petabytes. It means that a default replication factor will lead to the problem of occupying more space, that is 3 petabytes, which is quite larger. So, but we have to bear it. We can't help it out here, because the failure recovery is more important than memory or space consumption. There is always a trade-off between space and time and failure factor. So here we have to compromise with the memory, because if 1 petabyte file gets lost, then it is a big loss rather than spending some more money on the memory or on the space utilization or space consumption. So we say this is the thing that how we handle. We have kept the replicated copies at different data nodes. So we have replication of data blocks, and we consider that replication factor as 3. This we have already discussed. This PPT we have already discussed that the default is 3. Every block of data or each data is saved on 2 or more machines, so that the total copies are 3 of the same data block on different machines. This replication factor can be set on per file basis on the file system in the written HDFS for the first time. So this is the design overview of this. Now here we are considering the replication factor. Suppose we are having replication factor 3 and one of the server goes down, like in the previous example we consider data node 2 went down, and then in that downtime the replication factor became 2, 3 minus 2, because one of the data node, that is data node 10 was failed, then the default replication factor is reduced to 2 in that case. So here we say we have restoring factor, that is we have to recover the restoring factor. Now let us have a look at the design and overview of this. In this case, we have already discussed a bit about this. So we have HDFS client lying over here, then file space, namespace, meta option, we have name node, then we have secondary name node. Name node is interacting with all the data nodes, and all the data nodes are sending heartbeat signals to the name nodes, which will tell us that a particular data node is alive. Now see, in this case, let us consider this one as one of the block. So this block is copied here as well as here. So the application factor in this case is 3. Now for green, for this block, the application factor is again 3. And for orange, the application factor is again 3. Now for purple, it is replicated at this data node, but here we are having application factor is 2 for this, and for black we have application factor 3. So basically the main important thing here we need to understand is that application factor is default 3 and we should maintain it. Now if we say the application factor is 2 in this case, this basically occurs if only data node fails and the application factor of block goes 3 minus 1, that is 2, then there will be an alarm that is set to restore the replication factor. So suppose if we consider this example, here data node 10 went down, its services are down, and in this case node 2 that will be non-accessible, but node 2 is stored at data node 11 also, and it is stored at data node nowhere else. So replication factor for node 2 is only 1 in this case if this server goes down. So now this is the big problem. Replication factor should be maintained 2 or more than 2. By default it is 3, but we can change it according to the requirement, but it should be at least 2. But in this case, replication factor for N2 is only 2. 2 minus 1, it becomes 1 only. Now let's consider the block placement strategy, which is very important. Firstly, let me brief about this again. So if there is any failure, now in this case, what is to be done? If data node 10 becomes inaccessible, then node 2 should be copied somewhere else. In this case, node 2 has been copied now at the DN12, which was earlier free. DN12 was free. So what happened in this case? It simply node 2 is got simply replicated to DN12. So how it happened? This is happened with the basic strategy of neighborhood approach. So after the data lost from DN10, the data was available at DN11 only. So the immediate nearest neighbor to DN11 was DN12. So it is replicated at DN12, which is the nearest neighbor. So nearest neighbor algorithm has been implemented to maintain the replication factor. So if the data is failed on any of the node, it would be copied to some other node, but within the same cluster automatically. In this case, it is copied to DN12. So this should be happening automatically to maintain the replication factor, because it is very important to maintain the replication factor. So now what happens if DN10 gets back to its service? Then the replication factor will again become 3. Now DN10 has recovered, so the data node that was N12 became available. So in this case, the application factor has again became 3. Now, what is to be done? What will HDFS do? It will simply delete one extra copy of N2 from any of the three nodes, that is DN10, 11 or 12. This ensures that replication count is maintained all the time. So you should maintain the replication factor at all time. Now next we have replica placement strategy. Now it is, how does name node choose which data nodes to store replicas on? Now for this, consider, assume that the yellow color block is the original data. In this case, here we say this thing, this is the original one. So we assume that the yellow color block is the original data. Now these are copied and now the yellow is no more. Now this is copied. This yellow data node is copied here, here and here. So we have three replicas of this yellow node. Now after this we will stop considering this as a actual data node. So let us cross this. So we say now this one, yellow one, is no more a data node or the original data. Now we consider this blue one, this one, and this one are the data, actual data. Since three copies have to be maintained, so we have three blue blocks in this. Now you might think this is rack number 1. This is rack number 1. Let me note it. This one is rack number 1 and this one is rack number 2. And why can't I have kept these two? That is, these two blue ones in rack 1. Remember? Now see, I have option these two to be stored in rack 1. But what will happen if we store it over here? Now suppose this rack fails. This becomes inaccessible. Then we have to access it from rack number 2. Now one more question arises. Now suppose I have one more rack, that is rack number 3. Now I should have moved this over here also. This copy may have been moved over here also, but I have not moved it over here. There is a reason behind this. The main reason is, if rack 1 fails, then we can create the replicas within this rack as many as we need. But we should avoid using rack 3. Why so? Because in the earlier previous slides, we have discussed the cluster implementation in the production requirement. In that, we consider that each and every rack is having a switch. That switch provides communication inside the data blocks. And if one rack wants to communicate with rack 2, then here we should have a router. Here we need the router. And if one rack wants to communicate to rack 2, then it should communicate with the help of router. So the router might consume some of the time. So the process becomes slow in this case. Let me repeat once again what I am saying here. It says, I have kept the 3 replicas in rack the third replica in rack number 3. Why I can't do so? This is not usually done. What actually done is, one replica is kept in rack number 1 and other 2 replicas are kept in rack number 2, which is adjacent to rack number 1. This is done because copying from one data node to other data node within the same rack is faster. Within the same rack, it is faster as compared to copying in other racks. Now assume rack 1 fails, then we must copy that node from rack 2 to rack 1 whenever it recovers. So transferring data from one rack to another is very time consuming because each rack has a switch and the switch consumes some amount of time also that can't be ignored. Here you may ask, what is the big deal? If we keep one replica in rack 3, then you must remember we are not talking about a file which is of megabytes or MBs in size. Here we are dealing with big data files which are petabytes in size. Each data node will have a hard drive here is going to be approximately 50 to 100 terabytes. It is approximately close to 50 to 100 terabytes. If one data node fails, entire hard drive will become unavailable. Now, trying to access from racks may cause delay. Every delay, even milliseconds delay, is going to add to huge amount of delay, which will be very much. Now, at last, let us discuss about the last topic for this session only. So let me move to next slide. I have to again stop the sharing. Again, it will got stuck somewhere when I shift. So let me start sharing again. So I hope it's busy. It's clear about the functionality. If it's not clear, let me repeat this once again because I had paused somewhere. So it says we have already understood that the main role of the name node is to maintain centralized table, that is FS image, which is similar to your content page in a textbook, which gives an idea what topic is on what page. Similarly, FS image tells you where exactly the block corresponding to your file is residing in the data nodes. This FS image file is going to be backup in your secondary name node. Eventually, in case of failure, the entire cluster will be inaccessible. If your name node fails, it doesn't mean that the entire data is lost, but we are not able to find such data because FS image file is inaccessible. So here we need to scan the entire data nodes to find the data we are looking for. So to avoid such a problem, we have secondary name node present in that consists of FS image file. FS image file is backed up in secondary name node. So the secondary name node work as a backup or replicated copy for the name node. Remember, it will not perform all the functionalities of name node. It simply keep a copy of the FS image. So FS image file is backed up in the secondary name node in case of name node failure. So FS image file is restored and become accessible. But the main problem is the admin should be interviewed all the time. So we should remember that the secondary name node is not hot standby. Hot standby means, we discussed in the previous sessions also, it is not performing all the tasks in case of name node failure. But this was the problem with Hadoop version 1 only. In Hadoop version 2 or 2.0 or 2.x, the problem of hot standby was resolved. So the administration services are provided automatically in Hadoop 2.0 and the name node becomes hot standby. So name node is having a hot standby name node. If name node fails, then the hot standby name node will start working and the cluster services will not be affected. But in case of Hadoop 1.0 and Hadoop version 1 or Yarn, if name node fails, then all the cluster services are affected, because secondary name node is not hot standby, but in version 2.0 our name node is hot standby and all the cluster services will still be running even in case of failure of the actual name node. So all the problems got solved. If the name node fails, the entire cluster goes down in version 1, but not in version 2. So let's have a quick brief about when to use. So HDFS is only good for storing large files when we are having terabytes or petabytes of files. But if we are having small files but larger amounts, then we should not use HDFS. When we have to handle millions of bytes rather than larger number of files, then we should go with HDFS. But HDFS is not good for lesser number of larger files. Instead, it is good for more number of smaller files. And the HDFS is not good when latency rates are low. So many writes, if we have to perform, then we should not go with HDFS. HDFS is good when each file is typically of 100 MBs or more. When we are performing streaming of data, that is read once, write many type patterns, and go with HDFS.